their names changed to Abraham and Sarah, which helps us to understand basically that God is going to do his he's going to complete his promise with Abraham and Sarah, not Abram and Sarai, right? As you go through the Bible, you'll see whenever a name is changed, it's significant. Usually there's something significant that comes after there is a name change. Now, last time we talked about Abraham looks up and he sees the Lord, and there's three. And Sister Tanya tried to jump ahead on me because I wanted you all to speculate on the three. Well, it was something that was done to me in seminary. It was a lesson taught about extracting a meaning or a thought process from the text without understanding that the Bible will interpret itself if you'll just keep reading. So today we're going to see who these three are. It's not Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All right. And we're going to, and as we get into, you all have heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So we're going to get into that whole story to understand what's going on with all of that. So here in verse 16, after Sarah has denied that she laughed, and then the Lord tells her, no, but you did laugh. In verse 16 it says, then the men rose from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. Now, it's customary, and we want to talk about these customs because if you ever happen to get anybody watch the History Channel?
1816.
All right, so if you ever watch the History Channel or something like that, they will lie on the Bible. I mean, if they're talking about George Washington, they'll get it right. But when it comes to the Bible, they will lie. So they will begin to show you that what's going on with this whole thing of Sodom is it's all about hospitality. It is not. All right? Hospitality was something that was commonly given in that culture. It was a part of everything that they did. No one really violated it. Not being hospitable just was, it was part of it. It would be like us, when we especially in the South, we speak to one another. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you go to my hometown, you don't drive down the street with both hands on the wheel, because you got to keep going like this. Everybody sitting on the porch, everybody walking down the street. They don't know who you are. They'll do this. They don't know who you are, but they're going to wave. Everybody waves. Everybody's part of the culture. If you don't wave, they'll probably get on the phone. Somebody was driving down here in such and such car, they didn't even speak. Right? So that's not the issue. We're going to see what the issue is, and we'll do not a deep dive into it, but we'll discuss it. All right, so the men rose from there and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. So part of that hospitality is when you have guests and you feed them, that when they leave, you would walk part of the journey with them. That was part of what they did. So as they're walking, verse 17, and the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Now, the Lord here is talking to whom?
The three men.
Because Abraham would have heard it. Yeah, well, we would say this was more of an internal thing. Talking to himself. Now, does God not know what he's going to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
He does. So why do you think that's there? Yeah, exactly. That is for us. Look at that again. Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Wait a minute. I thought what you were doing was you were going to tell Abraham that he was actually going to have this son. Wasn't that what you were doing? Isn't that what you showed up for? That wasn't exactly, I mean, that was part of it, but he had another thing that he wanted to do.
It's like, no, should I hide this from Abraham? Should I? Should I? No.
So look what he says in verse 18. Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation. Verse 18. Oh, okay. Verse 18. Since Abraham since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. So he's saying here, that's why you got a comma at the end of doing, since he's going to be all of this, should I hide from him what I'm about to do? Because what he's about to do is judge and destroy. And so he's basically saying, since he's going to become such a great thing, he needs to understand how I judge things. So since he's going to be all of that, let me show him who I am. So verse 20, and the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I will know.
Did you do 19? Did you do verse 19 or did I miss it?
I'm sorry, I did. I skipped 19. You were right. Why didn't y'all catch that? Y'all know?
I thought that's what you wanted.
No. Okay, so in Bible study, and even when I do a sermon, I don't skip verses. I like to go word by word, period by period. So if you ever catch me do that, please let me know. So we'll go back to verse 19. For I have known him in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. So basically it is, again, I'm going to make of him this great nation. Should I show him what's going on here? This is for us to understand what God was doing. What he's basically saying, it's almost rhetorical. I am going to show him how I function, because he's got to be able to now direct everyone in his household. He's got to teach Isaac who I am. Here's what he doesn't want him to teach Isaac. Isaac, God is a guy who comes and makes you promises and gives you stuff. That is not what he wants to teach Isaac. He wants him to teach Isaac, God is not to be played with. That's what he wants Isaac to understand. God will do great things for you, but don't play with him. And here's an example. Let me tell you what happened to Sodom. Right? So, now, in verses 20 and 21, what God is saying here is that from his omniscient, y'all know what that word means? All-knowing. All right? It means all-knowing. From his all-knowing perspective, this cry of sin has come to him from Sodom. So he knows what's going on there. So what he's saying is, but when I deal with something, I'm going to deal with it directly. So I'm going to go take a look at it specifically. All right? Now, does God know what's going on there?
Yeah.
Okay, he does. But remember, this is for Abraham. And by extension, you and I to understand something. He's saying, don't think I sit in heaven away from all of it and just know.
Poof, be gone.
Yeah. Please understand, when it comes to how I judge, I deal directly with it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to directly judge it. Which is what a lot of people miss when you have people that you're going to run into at some point in your life that's going to tell you it's two gods in the Bible. There's an Old Testament God and a New Testament God. The New Testament God is the nice, loving one, kind one, and the Old Testament God killed everybody. It's the same God, and you got to know all of them. Sometimes I think in church, we do a disservice. Because everything that we do when it comes to God, we say kind, loving, merciful, grace, benevolent, blessing. All of that's like, really good stuff.
Can't
But-
understand mercy without understanding.
Yeah. You can't even,
Or appreciate grace.
you can't, sometimes Adrian gets on me, she goes, you preach about sin a lot. I'm like, you don't understand grace if you don't get sin. You don't understand mercy if you don't understand his wrath. If you don't understand the fact that, didn't I tell you to be quiet? If you don't understand the fact that he doesn't play, you will not be appreciative of the grace that you get. Right? I mean, if you don't understand that this is God, you will make him Santa Claus. I think some people have done that. He's the blessing God. So, verse 22, then the men turned away from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. So here's where we get this first pairing where Abraham knew one of these men. When he saw them, he said, that's the Lord. He'd had an encounter with him before. Maybe he appeared to him the same way. Whatever the case may be, he knew that. So the other two, what do you think they are? Angels. So the other two are angels. The reason they accompanied God was not to visit Abraham. They have a purpose. It was to go to Sodom. They had a job to do. They were going on a job to destroy. So in verse 23, and Abraham came near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? So Abraham is this master negotiator. No, really. He's a master.
Yes.
Because Abraham looks at God and he's basically going, let me appeal to your merciful side, your benevolent side, your loving side, your kind side. Surely, that big old city down there, you wouldn't wipe the whole thing out because there's got to be some righteous amongst the wicked. Right? All right. Verse 24. Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? So you see how he did that? So let's say there's, 20,000 people down there in Sodom or more. He said, all I need is 50. If it's 50, you don't destroy the city, would you? You wouldn't destroy the city, would you? Now, God could do what we do. Well, percentage-wise, that means 99.9% of that city is wicked. I'm going to destroy it. He could have used the stat on it. He didn't. You know what God does? See, God knows who's actually wicked and who's actually righteous. So God says, I'll let you negotiate. So God says, all right, far be it from you to do such a thing as this to the righteous with wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? So the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Cool.
If he already knows.
Yeah. He's negotiating from a place of strength and knowledge. Abraham is trying to save a city without knowing. Then Abraham answered and said, indeed now I who am but dust and ashes shall have taken upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all of the city for lack of 5? So he said, if I find 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there should be 40 found there. So he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak, because this could be kind of nerve-wracking. If your child is, you probably slap him. Shut up. So he says, All right, I don't want to make you angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 should be found. So first it was by 5s, now he's dropping by 10s. Because it's like, he's negotiating. Let me see how far I can go. If somebody says, how much would you give me? And you say, 50? And if they answer real quick, like, okay, don't you feel like I could have got more? Wouldn't you like to go, well, you know what? Wait a minute. What about 40? That's what's going on here. God is quick to answer. So he says, 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30. And he said, indeed now, I have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So the Lord went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Abraham thought, I got a good deal going. There's got to be 10. Must be at least 10. This is a big city.
Right.
It's got to be 10. All right, so chapter 19. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. Okay. Let's talk about Lot for a second. Do y'all understand that Sodom is a wicked place?
Yes.
All right, so Sodom, think of Sodom as sin. And let's look at Lot for a second to understand how this works. Everybody go back to chapter 13 and find verse 10. All right, so you remember Lot came with Abram, and when they got to the land, they decided to figure out who was going to get what. But you remember, Abram let Lot pick. So look at verse 10. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. That means it was beautiful. Like the garden of the Lord, like Eden. This place is gorgeous. Like the land of Egypt as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. So the first thing that Lot did was he looked around and he picked a spot. Now, where he's picking is Sodom. He's looking at the wicked place, and he says, I'm going to head that way. Then in verse 12, and Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. So this does not mean that he's in Sodom. It means that he went close to Sodom. He pitched his tent there. Sodom is sin. This is how it works. First you look. Then you journey. Then you get close, and you tell yourself, I'm going to stay away. Look in chapter 14. Find verse 12. So, when the cities got raided, they also took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So he pitched his tent close to Sodom, and now he's in Sodom. He looked at the sin. He went towards the sin. He stopped short of the sin. Now he's in the sin. And man, when you get to come back to chapter 19. When you get to chapter 19 and when you get to verse 1, now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. Does anybody know what it means when a man is sitting in the gate of the city when you look in the Old Testament?
In the middle?
He's what?
Right at the...
He's at the gate.
He's one of the leaders of the city.
He is a civic leader. He is part of the government. He is an official. He looked, he journeyed, he stopped short of, he moved in, and now he's running the place. Sin. That is exactly what happens with sin. We look at it, we ease up to it, we try to stop short of it, Then we find ourselves in it, and before you know it, we're leading it. Anybody ever done that? That's how sin works. So what should you not do? Don't look. Don't gaze on it. Don't look at it. If you see it's wrong, turn away. Turn away. It's crazy how you get someone that says, "Okay, I'm going to not get drunk. I'm not going to commit that sin anymore." And then they can say, and I'm going to test myself. They keep looking at the liquor store. Then they give somebody a ride to the liquor store, but I'm not going in. Then they go in, but I'm not buying it. Next, they're buying something, and then after that, they're looking for the sales. Right? They're back in it. Anybody ever overcome sin? If you overcome it, this is what you don't do. Don't say I've overcome it, now I can go back and be around it. No. Your flesh is still
Weak.
Yeah.
Proverbs says you throwing it up and then you go lick it back up.
You go look it back up. You eat it again. I mean, that's what it is. That's how you should look at it. You should look at, this is something I've been able to get over. I should look at it as vomit. Don't be the dog, because you know what dogs do with vomit. They go back and lick it up. So it's like, don't go back and lick it up. But it begins with, don't look. Don't look. Just don't look. That means don't listen. Stop it before it happens. When you get the phone call and somebody says, "Let me tell you what happened with so-and-so," that's gossip. Stop it right there.
So if you're single and they get the phone call and be like, "Why don't you come to
They say what? Stop it before it starts. But it begins with you entertaining it. That's what you got to be careful of. Real quick, does anybody remember one of the ways I told you can stop people from gossiping with you?
Take them to that person.
Well, you threaten them. Well, you threaten them with that because they're not going to say, "Let's go." But yeah, they say, "Hey, look, let me tell you what so-and-so did. Does so-and-so know you're telling me? Let's get them on the phone. Before you tell me what they did, let's make sure it's okay for them to know that I know." Well, what happens?
Okay.
Never mind. Don't tell nobody.
Nope, then don't tell me.
See, nosy. Come in, don't tell nobody what.
Yeah, it'll come out of you. See how it come out? Those words attract people. Hey, don't tell nobody this. That gets everybody's attention. That's an attention grabber. But that's usually don't tell anybody this. Here's the thing. Is it something about you? So if I say, don't tell anybody this, and it's about me, that's different. But if I say, don't tell anybody this, let me tell you what Tanya did. Then that's where you say, but you're saying don't tell anybody. Does Tanya know you're telling me this?
That's what we're supposed to say?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know now.
Yeah. Didn't know before. I get it. That's what you're supposed to say. All right. So Lot has gone through this, and now Lot finds himself in the city as one of its keepers. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, which would have been customary for someone in his position to do. When you have someone the strangers that come to your city as a city official, he is in his official capacity greeting them. And he said, "Hear now, my lords, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. He is offering them the hospitality that would be normal for the region. Because people say Sodom got destroyed for lack of hospitality. That is not true at all. They followed the protocols. And they said, no, but we will spend the night in the open square. Now I want you to get what he said. He sees two strange guys come to his city. And Lot knows
His city.
his city.
Like,
And Lot says, hey, you two guys, you're new here. Come stay with me. I'm being hospitable here. I don't want you to get into any trouble. Don't want you to get hurt. Let me feed you, get you some good rest. And you know what? You need to get up and get out of here.
And
Do
soon.
y'all understand what he just, that's what he's saying. He did not tell them, hang out, come see our fair city. He's like, I see you traveling. Let me get, look, it's getting dark. Come on, spend the night, get you some food, and in the morning, get out of here. And they say, no, we're going to go to the middle of the city, to the busiest part of it, and we'll just stay there all night. So, Lot here in verse 3, but he insisted strongly. So they turned into him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now, part of this whole thing of him making them a feast and not just feeding them was another way for Lot to say, don't leave.
His house.
Stay here. We're going to have a feast. What do people usually do when they have a feast?
He's sleeping.
Yeah. You know,
Get that
get you some
itis.
food, yeah, get you some sleep. Verse 4. Now before they lay down, because that's what they're going to do, the men of the city, the men of the city, the men of the city. We say it one more time. The men of the city. The men of Sodom, both old and young. All the people from every quarter, the men, surrounded the house. Now I want y'all to think about this. Not some, all. All. Word got around. This is quite incredible to me. Not only did word get around, but they all decided, let's go get them. Does anybody know why they're going to get them?
Put their mask
Yeah, they want to rape them. They don't want to sleep with them. This is straight rape. I mean, when you got, you surrounded the house, I mean, that's not a who do you like.
Right.
That's a, now, it speaks to two things. One, sexual immorality. The other thing is violence. This city is prone to, they're about to commit violence for the sake of sexual immorality. All right? And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally. Bring them out so we can know them carnally. All right, so this is a question of, when you read something like this, when you see this and you understand what's going on, you know what? We don't know anything else about Sodom.
Nope.
What the Bible tells us about Sodom is actually right here. It's violent and there is rampant homosexuality, not just with our statistics. This is 100%. This is total, full blown. Violent though. That they can't get enough of each other. When they see somebody new, everybody wants some of them. That's bad. That's really bad. Now, I want you to remember Abraham's conversation with God.
You just needed
If it's just 10,
just 10.
every man in the city,
Yourself.
I mean, those numbers have dropped. All right, so. All right, so.
He's calling out his numbers.
Yeah, well, verse 6. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him, and said, please, my brethren, Do not do so wickedly. Brothers, calm yourselves. Don't be so bad. See now, I have 2 daughters.
For all the men. You willing to get all?
I have 2 daughters who have not known a man.
Let me.
Do y'all see that not known a man?
Yeah.
Y'all see that?
Yeah.
You raising your hand. Let me see if I can answer your question before you even ask. Here's the answer to your question. In this culture, women were not looked at equally.
You know that.
They were not looked at equally. And it's when you read the Bible, what you'll notice about the cultures is, and you have some queens with a lot of power, but it's not really until you get to Jesus that you see Jesus basically brings women up. It's the whole Mary and Martha thing. That's the big part of that story. The fact that one of them was sitting there and he didn't say,
So,
get out of here, only the men should be right here. Right? So that fixed that. Yes.
Wait. No, that didn't
Oh,
answer my
what was your question? I thought I was there.
go.
So rape was still a sin though at this point in
Yeah.
time. So it's a bigger sin in their eyes to rape the 2 women. Than
No.
to rape the men?
No, they
No.
want to rape the men. He
They
trying to
wanted the
get them
men.
to
They didn't
sleep.
want the women.
They were gonna rape the women either way. They didn't want to do this. They didn't have a part in this. It would have been rape.
Yes, but he
But-
offered them because he didn't want his daughters.
Yeah, he
They
offered
wanted
them.
those 2 men. He
So it
knew.
would have been better to him to have his daughters.
No, he
raped.
called them out. He's like, y'all are coming here to rape these men that are strangers to our city. How about my daughters? They're like, no, we
Here's-
don't want your daughters. We want those men.
Here's the well. No, I know. Wait. I think I can. Let me answer your question. You remember I said a minute ago that there's this argument that the reason Sodom got destroyed was because of hospitality. Okay, so when you go back and study this time period and this area, and what you will find out, hospitality was so important that when you invited someone into your house as a guest, you would give your life to make sure that they were okay. So him basically saying, take my daughters, was him fulfilling his obligation to them as his guests. That was their culture. That was it. He was willing to literally die to make sure that they were okay. So like when y'all see those movies and somebody gets, somebody saves somebody's life, and then you'll hear the person say, because you saved my life, I'm now indebted to you for life, and I will follow you and do whatever. You've seen movies like that. It's the same kind of thing here. He's like, I'm indebted to them because I am their caretaker as they are here. I have to protect them as if they were one of my own. I invited them into my house, which means I am saying I'm going to protect them. All right, you got to understand that the way that they function is not like we function. They didn't, first of all, your guest didn't mistreat the one who was putting them up, and the person putting them up always treated their guests right. That's why when you get to the New Testament and you see Jesus, when he uses the example, he says, knock, keep on knocking, seek, keep on seeking. When he gives that example of the person knocking on the door in the middle of the night asking for bread, it would have been customary. That would have happened. I'm out of bread, but I got a guest that's come in. I got to get some bread. I go to my neighbors. If you got bread, give me bread. I got a guest. Now, the neighbor would have said, I'm not giving you, oh, you got a guest? All right. I know you get it back to me because it was just that important. So what you have here is you have, within this culture, Lot is functioning just like supposedly he was supposed to. So when he offered up his daughters, that's part of the mindset, and I know it looks bad. But what we gonna see later on is worse. So we just went to tip of the iceberg.
And I don't think he wasn't actually giving him his daughters.
I don't think we actually did though.
I know, but he wasn't,
He
like,
did,
he knew
but
they
they
weren't gonna
didn't
do
want
it. Like, it was just kinda like.
That was the point he was trying to show.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, if they had said okay,
I'm trying to show you how
it
bad
would have gone.
you
But
are.
I think you would have given those daughters to
okay.
It happened later on with the tribe of Benjamin.
Yeah, I mean,
The same thing.
it would. Remember, again, in this culture,
God said, this is
you got
because
you know who he wouldn't have offered? A son.
No, I never would offer.
He never would have offered a son, but he would have offered a daughter. All right? Bad, yes.
Are these 2 daughters different from the 2 that raped them?
I'm sorry?
Are these 2 daughters different from the 2 that raped them?
Now see, you messing up the story because you jumping way ahead. Don't jump ahead.
Oh,
Don't jump ahead. You got some people that read this. You messing with stuff.
I'm sorry.
Remember what I said? This is kind of like a soap opera?
Well, it so
Yeah.
happened after.
Yeah.
Eh,
I'm
Wait.
sorry. Well, I was just confused why
Wait.
he said they didn't. Okay.
Wait. Just wait. We might not get to it today, but we'll get to it. All right. So, all right. So, what verse was I? Hey, all right. So, see, I have my 2 daughters. Now, notice this: who have not known a man. Keep that in mind. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish.
It's a mess.
Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. Do you see the hospitality he's speaking of? I have to guard them. They're under my roof. And they said, stand back. Then they said, this one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So what they're now saying is, Lot, you're an outsider. You came from outside, and you've come in here, you've got a different morality than we do. We don't like it. Now, Lot likes the beauty of everything, but the morality he's not into. And now they're saying, you sit around here, and every time we turn around, you're judging what we do. And we don't like it, so what we're going to do, you think we were going to be bad to them?
You can tell you.
We're going to be worse to you. All right, so what would you do if you were Lot?
Let me have those men and be done.
He can't run.
I had to stop praying. All the men, shoot.
All right, so they pressed hard against the man, Lot, and came there to break down the door. So they pushing him on the door. So everything after this is supernatural. Think about this. All of these men are pressing Lot up against the door. Now look what happens in verse 10. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. You mean to tell me with all them men
They didn't
pressing up
fall
on
in?
him about to break the door, they were able to open the door, put them back, and pull them in. These two against all of them.
Wait, I'm
That-
confused.
If I was in the crowd and saw that, I think I might go, okay, I've seen enough here. We need to move on. There's something not quite right here. Verse 11, and they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door. Now, it struck them blind. Now, I want you to understand what this blindness is. They were blind in this sense. They couldn't see the door anymore. They're looking for it, though. They're still reaching for it, but they can't see it. They're still raging.
It's like a mad dog.
Yes. They're still raging after this homosexuality that they wanted. They want to commit a homosexual act. This is what we know of Sodom. They are violent, and homosexuality is rampant. And God is going to destroy them for this wickedness. All right? I'm sure that they had a lot of other wickedness, but this is what is personified from the Bible. Verse 12. Then the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here? Son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, take them out of this place. Now, notice what they said. They said, have you anyone else here? These are angels, so they're saying, is there anyone else here? Why would they say son-in-laws if he just said that his daughters hadn't been with anybody? They were betrothed. So now I think about this. You a son-in-law.
Well, did he only have the 2 daughters who were virgin?
He had the 2, that's it.
Oh, he didn't have any other kids?
No, he had the 2, and they were betrothed. So you're considered a son-in-law at betrothed. So you're sitting there, y'all know how they did, right? They were supposed to go out, be a year's worth of work here before they actually got married and consummated the marriage. So here they are, they got the virgin future wife. Daddy just said y'all can have them. I mean, how would you feel?
Some kind of way.
I'm done, behave, you know. But then he says, take them out of this place. So let's count here for a minute. If you got son-in-law, he says, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, take them out of this place. If the two girls are betrothed, or just one, so that's two girls, and either, so we'll just give two, so the two son-in-laws, him, his wife, that's 6. Now, we do
And
see
still
some
no
with sons,
FOMO.
but what we find out is later on, there are no sons, right? So that's 6. Doggone it, Abraham.
He just needed to ask him one more question.
Abraham stopped at 10. Maybe he should have went to 6.
No, he should have. He should have went to 1.
Yeah,
He
maybe
shoulda went to
he-
1.
He stopped too soon.
He should have just said 1.
God said if we got 10,
Lord, if Lot is still
I won't
hungry,
do
please
it.
don't destroy the
he
city.
didn't get there. All right, so
Assuming the son-in-law is righteous.
yeah, well, they're offering them up, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're okay. Well, think about it. If Lot is coming to the city and they obviously don't like his morality, you would think that perhaps the son-in-laws had bought into some of what he was saying. You know. For we'll destroy this place because the outcry against them has grown great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Verse 14. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law. Oh, there it is. And said, get up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But to his sons-in-law, he seemed to be joking. So they didn't fully buy it. Let's think about what he's telling them. These two guys are going to destroy the whole city. You gotta be kidding me. You're joking.
You on there whining?
It's not gonna
Daddy?
happen. It's not gonna happen. Not gonna believe you. Why not? Why not believe that?
Because it's never been done.
Does it make any sense?
No.
Don't make any sense. Is it logical at all?
No.
Two guys gonna destroy the whole city? No, doesn't make any sense. How about this one? A man is going to die, be dead for 3 days, and then get up. That make any sense? Is that logical?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. So,
Kevin, is this sequential, like the dudes are still around the door, the angels tell him, and he goes out, because his sons-in-law are part of the group of guys out around the house?
it looks like they are out there.
I don't understand.
She said, do you
I
understand what she's
understand the
saying?
question.
What she's saying is, she's saying, were they a part of the group that wanted to rape the men?
Oh, you're saying yes?
All the men.
It was all the men of the city.
Yeah.
It was all of them.
Because the city went out.
It went out. They weren't inside. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law. There it is. Who had married his daughters, but yet they were still virgins, so they were betrothed. And said, get up and get out. But their sons-in-law, he seemed to be joking. Verse 15. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. So, in other words, Lot wasn't moving fast enough, so they grabbed Lot's hand, one of them grabbed Lot's hand, one of them grabbed his wife's hand and said, let's go. The other one grabbed the daughters in each hand and said, let's go. What you see here is they basically drug them out. Said, come on, let's get out of here, all right? So it came to pass when they had brought them outside that he said, escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. Okay, so look at the instructions. Escape for what reason? Your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plains. All right. Do not look behind you. What did I say Sodom represented? Sin. Do not. Why would you look? Has anybody ever left someplace and looked back?
Yeah.
Why?
Regret. You miss it.
You're gonna miss it. You look back because I'm gonna miss this place. And that's where you want to be, and you have to leave. You will look back. Not just looking back, but within you. Your desire is to be there, not leave. When he tells them don't look back, he's saying don't have no desire to go back there. We're destroying you. By the way, after that fiasco of the night before, why would you want to go back to that? Why? Why would you want to go back to that?
Especially my mama, her daughter's being offered up.
This is what does that tell you about her life there?
She loved it.
She loved it. She loved it in the sin. Anybody sin? Was it good? No, it was bad. It was bad. It was a trick question. It was bad. I didn't say feel, I just said, was it good? No, I'm just kidding. Did it feel good? If sin felt bad when you were doing it, we wouldn't do it. Sodom must have been a wonderful city somehow. I don't know. It was that she enjoyed it, obviously. So don't look back, escape to the mountains lest you be destroyed. Then Lot said to them, please no, my lords. Indeed, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains lest some evil overtake me and I die. What's the problem with Lot here? There's something going on. Look at what he's saying here. What do you notice seems to be missing?
Disobedience, or believing that these guys are more than them.
Not believing.
Faith.
You don't think he can make it to the mountains in time? Doubt, he's doubt, he's got doubt.
I'm gonna read it again. This time I'm gonna emphasize some things to see if you
What
catch it.
verse is it?
19.
Okay.
All right, so
He's scared you're gonna get raped along the way. Sorry.
no, ain't that. Indeed, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains lest some evil overtake me and I die. Y'all see something missing?
Not my family.
What about the wife and the daughters? This all about me.
He never really cared
But
about the
think
dog.
about it, I'm saying you go like that, you know, you gonna die if I'm saving your life right now, that's crazy.
But it would just be him. Did he feel like he was gonna be alone?
He think his
No.
daughters and his wife was them was
He
gonna
done offered
come.
up the daughters already. So, Lot does have an issue here. His issue is going to bite him. This is why I say his issue is going to bite him. If he loved his daughters like a father should have loved his daughters,
He wouldn't have.
his first concern
Would have been them.
would have been them. If this is me and that's Trinity, and if I'm afraid to go to the mountains because I think there's something dangerous to that, I'm not gonna say, look, I can't go to the mountains, I'm gonna get hurt up there. I'm gonna say, I can't take my daughter up there to the mountains. She will get hurt up there. It ain't about me, it's about her that I'm worried about. Lot's love is kind of
Weird.
funny. Now here's the thing. If he doesn't seem to have the proper love for his daughters, what kind of love will they have for him?
Not the proper kind.
It's improper.
Exactly.
So are these
If
his
he
real daughters?
doesn't, this is listen carefully. When it comes to your children, if you don't show them the proper love that you should, it will bite you in the end. It will come back to bite you. Not necessarily that it's going to be an improper thing, but think about it. If your child says, well, my mother or my father loves me this way, and this way is not a loving parental way, how's the child going to view the parent? What kind of love do they have for the parent? Because now you're either going to become an object of somebody that's just there to get me something when I need it, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, y'all catch what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what his daughters are going to do a little bit later, it's something that a daughter should never even halfway
Think about.
contemplate thinking of. Like, I'll die before that happens, right? You say, yeah. It is yucky. All right. So, verse 20. See now, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. What kind of city is it? A little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. Verse 21. And he said to him, see, I have favored you concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was Zor. What do you think Zor means?
Safe place.
Take that chicken.
Halfway house.
What kind of city is it?
Little.
Little. That's what Zor means.
What version
Little.
are you reading
So,
from?
Small.
going back to lest some of the evil overtake me and I die, with it being a bigger city, is he, I mean, so he wants to go to a smaller city because he feels like the evil will overtake him in the bigger city? That's why I said he feels like maybe he'll be.
No, he doesn't want to go to the mountains.
To the mount, oh, okay.
It's the mountains that he's fearing.
Okay.
All right. It's what's, think about it. Lot came to this land. Lot left Ur, all right, land of the Chaldeans, where they were civilized.
Yeah.
All right. So he's used to the creature comforts of his time. When he gets to this land, it's beautiful, and he looks at the plains. What is he not looking to go to? The mountains. Why? Because you don't go to the mountains. You don't live in the mountains. Nobody lives in the mountains. You can't live in the mountains. It's stuff up in the mountains. It's animals up in the mountains. There's no place to build a
That's
house
the
in the
evil
mountains.
that'll overtake
Yeah,
him.
I can't do any I can't do any work. I can't make any money. I can't do anything. I need a city. That's what's going on here. There's a little city over there. I'm a city boy. I got to go to the city. If you send me to the mountains, I'm done. Now we can start talking about, hold on, they just saved your life. Obviously, they got your best interest at heart, right? You do understand, you would think Lot understands that they are from the Lord. You would think, you would hope, because he knows the whole deal with Abraham. He knows what's going on there. So you would think that he would say, if that's where you want me to go, that's where you want me to go. But this is reflective of how we do God. God says, go here. We say, that don't look right. If I go there, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. I work better here. God says, no, you go there. We say, no, if I go over there, that ain't happening. I need to go here. If God tells you to go there, where should you go? There. If you refuse to go there, what is that a sign of? Disobedience, which is a lack of faith.
You're gonna end up there. You just taking
Like Jonah in the well.
Yeah, Jonah in the well.
Say God will get you there eventually.
In the wilderness. You're gonna end up there.
Hey, look, if God says this is where you're going to be, you can fight it. You can, but you just made life hard. Right? You just made life a lot harder. Now, let me tell you where I know where God has told all of us to go. Yeah, that's part of it. He's told us to go to the mountain of righteousness. That's where he's told us to go. And you know what we've said for the most part? If I go there, I will be destroyed. Because Lord, you don't understand. If I go and I be righteous, I can't commit the sins I'm committing. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Go be righteous. Man, that's a mountain I don't want to go to, Lord. I don't think I'd rather, is there a halfway point?
Not really.
Where I can do a little of this and a little of that? Can I get some brownie points for trying? Can I? Do we get brownie points?
No.
So we gotta either be righteous or not. You mean God don't give A for effort? All right, good. Y'all understand that. So he's got a standard. That's funny y'all are saying that because I'm telling you, most Christians think otherwise. Because you know what most Christians say about God? He knows my heart. Yes, he does. You don't know your heart. That's the problem. You don't know your heart. If you could look at your heart, you'd be appalled. Y'all like that word?
I like it.
Appalled. You'd be appalled. You'd be shocked. You'd be like, this isn't me. It is you. Anybody ever thought something so wicked it scared you?
Yes.
Just wicked. Just thought it just came into your mind. You ever just looked at yourself and said, I'm just wicked here? Okay, good. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, every now and then, a good self-examination, you'll find that you have some wicked thoughts. Everyone in there probably wanted to kill somebody. I mean, in your mind, they were dead.
Not now, right? Thank God.
You said not now.
Y'all point.
I hope so. All right, so Lot gets to go to this city. Verse 23, the sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar, which means that it was day. Then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plains and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. Now, the region where we believe Sodom and Gomorrah is to this day, it looks like fire and brimstone rained down upon that area. And by the way, there's these pillars of salt in the valley. There.
Where?
In the place where.
Here, we're just outside of Canaan. So over, think of the Middle East and think of just outside of Israel. It's still there, over by the Dead Sea. That's one of the reasons they say the Dead Sea is so salty. All right, but his wife looked back behind him. Why does she look back?
Cause she liked them men.
She missed it. She wanted to be there, and she became a pillar of salt. Now, when you read this in the original text, what's interesting is this word "looked back." It doesn't mean that she glanced. It means she looked intensely. It means she lingered. It can also mean she actually headed back. It's a strong word. She didn't go like this. She was like, yeah. She wanted to go back. So what you need to understand, I know you've probably seen a cartoon or something in a movie. First of all, notice how they get this wrong. They were not running. They were in the little city. They weren't running anymore. They were in the city. They weren't running and she looked back. They were in the city.
Back in route.
Yes.
Did he marry her? Was she from that city or did she come with him to the city?
Don't know. I don't remember if Lot came with his wife
That's
or
what I
it was
was
just
trying.
Lot. It's a good
He
question.
had a lot of property, but it doesn't say if he had
Yeah.
family or not.
Yeah, so it doesn't say. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I think what's interesting, if they were in the city, so then the question is, if we read this in the Hebrew language, like I think it's saying, she not only got intensely looking back, she kind of started heading back. And boom, it happens. So think of it from this perspective. If that is sin, what has happened is, instead of her turning from the sin, she wanted to turn back to the sin. She wanted to head back. She missed it. Poor thing. And she became a pillar of salt. Notice the words of the Bible too. She became a pillar of salt when she was looking back. Again, she wasn't running, so the next time you see that in a movie and you're watching with somebody, you can go, trivia, was she really running? Right? You can take them to the Bible and show them. They went to the city. He said, we won't start destroying anything until you do what? Get in the city. All right? So, verse 27. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. Wow. What did he rain down, by the way? Fire and brimstone. What is that?
His promise that he wasn't going to destroy by water.
Lava.
Okay.
No, it's sulfur.
There's a lot of sulfur in there. It's burning sulfur. Brimstone. Fire and brimstone. By the way, it's, I always hear that about a sermon. Sermon rained down fire and brimstone on the listeners. You ever had a sermon rain down on you?
No, not like that.
No? All right, I'm going to give y'all one you can look up. A fire and brimstone sermon that probably, I'm not going to say it saved more people than any other sermon, but this preacher preached this sermon over and over and had people literally, when he got through preaching, crawling to the altar to give their lives. guy by the name of Jonathan Edwards. You look him up. You don't have to look him up now. Look him up later. But he preached a sermon where he basically told people that their lives were hanging on a string, and God had tied the string around his finger and was holding them over the pit of hell, ready to let them loose if they didn't give their lives to Christ.
Good analogy.
Is it,
That is the one.
is this the sinners in the hands of
Yeah.
your God? Okay.
Yeah. Good sermon to read. All right, so Abraham goes out there and he sees all of this, and it came to pass, verse 29, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Then Lot went up, so,
I didn't understand it. What?
okay. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. God remembered Abraham, and because of Abraham, God took care of Lot. All right, that make it plain. Yeah, God took care of Lot because of Abraham. You will see as you go through the Old Testament and you look at the Israelites, you're going to find out that a lot of what happened with the Israelites was because God remembers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I made promises to your forefathers, and that's the only reason.
So did the guy,
Lot was a good guy.
No.
At all.
so did, the one that chose Sodom and Gomorrah, he died too?
No, that was Lot.
Lot chose Sodom and Gomorrah? That was somebody else.
No, that was Lot. Remember, it was between him and Abram. Abram was kind enough to tell him, you pick,
Yeah, but I
even though
don't
he
know.
came with him. And he picked the prettiest part. Isn't that just like sin? It would be in the prettiest part.
Yeah.
Verse 30. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains. Hold on. Wait a minute. I don't want to go to the mountains because if I go to the mountains, I'm going to be destroyed. I want to go to this little city. Where did the angels tell him to go? To the mountains. And then when he said he wanted to go to the city, they said, all right, go to the city. And then when he got to the city, his wife turned into a pillar of salt. And then God ran him up out of the city because that previous section was all about God getting all of that done. So he put Lot where?
In the mountains.
Where he told him he was going in the first place. Yes, sir.
You said she turned into a pillar of salt. Does that mean that she was salty? Because you said she was looking bad, or she actually turned into a
She
pillar of
actually
salt?
turned into a pillar of salt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and when you go and when you go that area, like if you ever travel over to the Middle East and take one of the Bible tours, they will take you out there, and what you will see is there is a lot of, you can see that there was destruction. You'll smell the sulfur, and you will see pillars of salt out there. I mean, it's interesting stuff when you go over there. So he ends up right where God basically told him to go. Which one of y'all said you're gonna end up there anyway?
Everybody.
Now, question. When they said go to the mountains, if he'd gone to the mountains, would she have had time to look back? No. But by saying, I know you want me to go there, but I don't want to go there. I want to go do my thing. Notice what the angels basically did. All right, go do your thing and see how that works out for you. Oh, we'll have mercy on you. Go ahead. And they did have mercy. He didn't destroy him. But what? He ended up. See, you got to understand this. If God wants you to be someplace,
Go.
you're going to be there. It's up to you how you get there. It's like God is like, you can do it the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
It's just like Sarah and Abraham taking the Ishmael journey.
Yeah.
They didn't have to take that journey.
You can do it the easy way,
Nightmare.
or you can do it the hard way. But either way, God is going to get you.
It says if his wife was still around when they went to the mountains, then
See?
his daughters would have had.
If the wife was there, this other stuff wouldn't have happened. See? Isn't it funny how the Bible makes sense? All right, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave where he didn't want to be in the first place. Verse 31. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old. This is worse and worse by every word. And there is no man on the earth. Are they dumb?
Yeah,
No.
they are.
on the earth. You forget Uncle Abraham got a whole household of folks
Right.
to come into us as is the custom of all the earth. It's almost like she's saying, we just want to be like everybody else. You ever heard that one? I just want to fit in with everybody. I just want everybody to like me.
They've been in Sodom too long.
He didn't value their sexuality anyway, so I mean, they
But
were
they
already
still-
maligned. I feel bad for these girls.
Yeah.
You
I mean, they
I
were
feel-
already in a, I mean.
He was already about to let him get raped.
I mean, why are we now valuing their sexuality?
again, like I said, if he had shown them the proper love,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have gone this route.
Yeah.
If he had obeyed the instructions that he was given, his wife would have been there and this wouldn't have taken place. So the younger
Dummy.
tells the older, that's what gets, come, verse 32. This is the younger talking. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. That last part is a lie. The reason I say it's a lie because she told the truth in verse 31. The last part of that. That was, there ain't no man around and I want a man. That's what that was. This last part, she didn't care nothing about his lineage. Verse 33. So they made their father drink wine that night.
That's a lot of wine.
Well,
You know, it was pure wine back then. We ain't
and the
about that
first
stuff.
one,
Maybe he.
did she say no how?
Yeah,
She said no how to drink.
It
didn't take
much.
And the firstborn went in and lay with her father. The firstborn is leading them. That's what gets me. The younger one is leading the older on all of this. And he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. He was drunk.
But the firstborn is the older.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You right.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
like,
thinking
huh?
backwards. Y'all didn't catch me.
Well, no, because it did, you, I thought you were
Maybe
going
mine
to
said
where
something
somebody younger was talking
can't
to her.
believe
Because up top it does say, no, it doesn't.
No, it's his firstborn.
I
It's his
tried to
firstborn.
have your back, I'm sorry.
No. I got it wrong. I got it wrong. I kept seeing firstborn and I don't know why I was thinking younger. All right. So the older one did lead the younger one. Okay. Dumb. Still. So verse 34, it happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, indeed I lay with my father last night, let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him,
Now this
that we
is-
may preserve the lineage of our father.
Fool once, I won't be fooled again. Like, how many times you gonna get drunk?
Wasn't that simple? No, he was already.
It was gonna be
Wait, back up. You said they were virgins, so how did they know?
That's not good logic. That's not good logic.
No.
That's not good logic.
That to me, the reason that don't make sense, because everybody in there was a virgin at one point.
Exactly.
But I guarantee you, most of us knew.
That's not
Most of
right.
us knew.
Well,
And mother probably explained it to
I
them.
was gonna say, worst case, they were betrothed, so.
They were all, yeah, they were
Was
betrothed.
explained to
It was
them.
explained to them.
I mean,
Yeah,
they knew.
they knew. All right, verse 35. Then they made their father drink wine that night, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both daughters of Lot were with child by their father.
I love how potent.
Hey,
I just
baby,
say one
900
thing down, like you
years.
guys put women. I love how everything is just so strong and pure back then, because it just takes a little bit of wine, you passed out, one lay down, you pregnant. Yeah, you do the same thing.
Okay, so let me mess with y'all just a moment.
This already messing with us.
I know.
Just want to mess with y'all just a moment. I will argue, got nothing to do with potency.
No.
Reason I say that is science today can't explain exactly how. I mean, they've seen it, they've got the pictures of it, but the actual conception, what actually takes place, they really don't know. I will say that's something reserved to God. So when it happens, it was a God done thing. So this conception, if you go to paternity court, what is the judge gonna say? It don't take but what? One time. But here's my thing. Since he is the all-knowing God, he knew this was going to take place. He also is all-powerful. So if he didn't want it to happen, it wouldn't happen. So I don't know how you want to look at it. He allowed it to happen. And when we're sitting here going, ew, which we should, it's like he's showing us so many different things. He's showing us, had he been obedient, his wife wouldn't have time to look back. She would have been there to shield this from happening, right? But that didn't happen. Now in his disobedience, he ends up where I told him to go in the first place. But the way he got there, he went to Zor, got scared. He was so scared in Zor that he had to leave there and go to the place where he just knew he was going to get destroyed. And now what's going to happen out of this is there are going to be these two kids. And these two kids later on are going to play key parts in what happens with Israel. God was doing this to set up what was going to come later. And it's funny you say, but that's evil. What evil meant for evil, God worked out to turn out for good. Right? Isn't that
We're gonna
something?
make the evil decisions regardless.
Yeah. I mean, they made, did God make them do this?
No.
No.
Yes.
God didn't make them do this.
Lot wonders how he doing.
Lot knows what happened.
What happened? How y'all get worse?
Lot knows what happened. He's not that drunk. I don't.
First night, what you gonna say?
Verse, I don't know. You know, it doesn't tell us they had a discussion about it.
He was old and drunk.
He was old and drunk.
Nah.
But you know what? Think about how much time was it from the day the angels came until they make it up here into the mountains?
The morning.
The morning, yeah, the morning.
Like
How much?
2 hours
Yeah,
or
they left. How much?
Maybe a
How much
24
time has
hour
passed?
period.
Not even 24 hours.
A day? I'll give him a week. I'll give him 2 weeks. Let's say it's 2 weeks.
To get to the mountain.
To get to the mountain. This is why I say that. So he looks up and he's like, how y'all get pregnant? Oh, Dad, look, before we left, I know we were betrothed. We did wrong.
We was in Sodom and Gomorrah, what you expect?
We were married and we just kind of.
Both of us. At the same time.
Now, if he don't know what he did, is that a plausible argument? If it's
Yeah.
only been a couple of weeks
Yeah.
within the window of conception.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if Lot understands that these are his kids or not. I don't know. But the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab.
Dun, dun, dun.
He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. That's the Ammonites. So we're going to see the Moabites and the Ammonites come into play later on. And you're going to see that all of these births and all of these crazy things that happen, the people that come from all of this stuff, and the thing is, they're all related. Lot is Abraham's nephew. Abraham is going to have Isaac. Isaac's going to have Jacob and Esau. Esau's people will be in the Red Hills when you go over there in the Middle East. And Jacob's people, of course, we know that they become the Israelites. Don't forget Ishmael. Now you got the Moabites, the Amorites, and all of them are related. And they're going to continue to function and do things throughout the history of the Bible that point us in a direction, that create situations that take place. So when all of this was going on, while we sit back and we go, man, this is nasty, God is sitting there going, I got a master plan. I got a master plan. I'm in control. I know what's going on. You're stuck on this little part. And usually when I teach through this, I've taught this to teens. The teens go crazy with this one. They lose their minds right here because they can't get off of what happened. And I'm like, what happened is significant not because of this, it's significant later on when we get down to who they are and what they did and how they went about doing things. So we will see that y'all first.
Yep.
The air was running late. 8:30 though.
Huh?
I said, but it's 8:20 though.
I'll give them 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
No,
Unless y'all need to
don't
leave.
talk. Don't start another child.
Anybody want to go?
Don't start another child. It's too
Oh,
much.
Just the first.
Well, just first. It's not anything real deep here. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said of Sarah, his wife, "She is my sister."
He did this again?
Yeah.
These fools don't learn.
He don't run into another king. This is the part that gets me though. How old is Sarah?
A million.
She's 90. Is she like 90 years old? Sarah must be bad. I mean, everywhere he goes, she my sister.
He didn't tell his son his lies either.
She is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "Indeed, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife."
We have a theme of not protecting our wives and daughters going on.
Yeah.
This is
I
problematic. Like,
But this is what makes Jesus so amazing, because this matches up with the culture of that day.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Jesus was just one that he loved us where no one else in the culture did.
I'm glad you got that out of this, because this is making me very upset.
Well, the Old Testament makes you appreciate Jesus so
Amen.
much.
Because the thing is, like, he knew what was gonna happen, and I know you said that when we were in Egypt that she didn't sleep with Pharaoh. I wasn't sure if that was true, but all these times, I mean, he didn't care if she was slept with or not. He didn't know.
As long as he was alive, he didn't care.
Exactly. He acting like Lot.
Now, have they had the baby?
I thought
No,
they did.
they haven't had the baby yet. So again, this goes to just what you're saying. You like, here he goes again. They still haven't had the baby. Is he not fully believing God yet?
He can't kill you. You have to fulfill God's.
Exactly. Nothing's going to happen to him or Sarah. The only time he should get nervous is when the son is born.
Right.
Then he got shaky ground. Like, come back to the Lord. Do I get to see grandchildren or something? But up until that point, he should be fine.
They haven't had the baby, but he has had Ishmael by this time.
Yeah, but he's been told.
But I'm
Ishmael
just
ain't
making
it.
sure that this is still in order.
Yeah.
Right? Time.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Ishmael's not the one. But Abimelech had not come near her. There's your answer. And he said, "Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also?" Who's the nation? Gerar. Did he not say to me, "She is my sister"? Did he say that?
He did. Yeah.
Was he lying?
No.
And she even herself said, "He is my brother." Okay, so why is she lying?
Because he told her.
Wasn't she supposed to do what he told her to do anyway?
And he told her.
Lie?
And he told her.
What he
How was it allowed when he said, I don't understand.
She is his like.
She is his sister.
Yeah, she's
Right?
So she didn't lie either.
No.
All right, so she's keeping up the farce. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this. So the king's argument is this: I was misled.
Yeah, he was.
I was misled. I mean, word came to me, that's his sister. I figured after that she was fair game.
Right, he gave it to her.
He's fair game. But what is God doing? Protecting her from what exactly?
Well, the thing, if she had slept with him, then they.
Yeah, that's a mess. That's a mess. That's a mess. Notice what Abimelech said. What it said about Abimelech. He ain't gone to her.
Right.
I didn't get there. God stepped in. Verse 6. And God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me."
So God kept him from going there.
Bingo. See how God steps in where he needs to step in? Allows what he needs to allow.
Yeah.
You know, he knows what he's doing. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. And notice what he said. He didn't say it'd be a sin against her, a sin against Abraham. He said it's a sin against me. You ain't finna make me look bad. Verse 9. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. Now, why this happens in a dream and why God is talking to him like this is because guess what? Abimelech don't know who Jehovah is from anybody. Abimelech got all kinds of guidance, but he's never talked to one in a dream. Never had one talk to him like this and tell him these things. So this is his first experience with God. All right, so there's David. We'll stop there, and we'll come back to Abimelech, and we'll see Sarah give birth to Isaac. Isaac is short. What we talk about with Isaac. Isaac is short. We got to get to Isaac. We get to Ishmael and Isaac, and what goes on with Isaac. It's interesting. It's short, though. It's interesting. All right. Gather quickly, so the choir can get started. Just wait on you, brother.
None do. I'm leaving now, so that's one reason I'm doing this.
All right, so First Lady told me to tell you, she will be back to Bible study as soon as possible. Trina is doing this dance thing, we're trying to get that worked out, but today is her grandmother's birthday, so she turned 103 today.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they let her go home, but she is on hospice, but they let her go home, so they are with her celebrating her birthday.
That's nice.
My usual.
You?
You, Post Rock Jesus.